I can find my mouse. There we are. All right. So again, welcome to this webinar. We know that the college application process can be very stressful. So our hope tonight is to relieve some of that stress and provide some helpful information for you. As our home state students, we have many supports available for our students specifically from Washington. So we would love to share that information with you as you are navigating through this college application process. So just some information about Gonzaga at a glance. If you don't know much about us, we are a private Catholic Jesuit liberal arts university in Spokane, Washington. We have roughly about 5,000 undergrad students, and we have over 80 different academic programs in our 5 colleges, which includes our College of Arts and Sciences, School of Business, School of Education, School of Engineering and Applied Science, and our School of Health Sciences. Our average class size is 21 with a student to faculty ratio of 12:1. And we're a very social and very involved community with lots of supports for our students and ways for them to be involved, over 120 clubs and organizations, and also lots of aid available to students. You know, being a private school, that sticker price can sometimes really be a scare to students, but want to kind of give you hopefully some relief from that 99% of our students earn scholarships and grants. So really no one's paying that full sticker price to be at Gonzaga. So moving on to some of our general application information, and this is the same for all students regardless of their residency. At Gonzaga, we use the Common Application for first-year students, and this is an application that is accepted by hundreds of universities. So it decreases the number of forms that you have to fill out for each school. The cost of the Common Application is $50. For those of you who may be in need of an application fee waiver for the Common Application, there are a few options. So Common App actually has a box that you can check where you can request a fee waiver for economic reasons, and your high school counselor will confirm that on your behalf. And then additionally, Gonzaga alumni have the ability to submit waivers on behalf of students through the alumni page of the GU website. It's under benefits, and we really never want the inability to pay the application fee to be a barrier for applying for admission to Gonzaga. So please contact our office if you need assistance or if you're having any struggles filling out any of those fee waivers. I'm turn it over to Becky D.
Awesome. So one of the big things about Gonzaga University that I personally love, especially as an admission counselor, is we read our applications holistically. So we're going to look at 5 main factors for most of you, and then another 6 if you submit your test score and want to use it. So we are test optional, and we'll talk a little bit more about what test optional means just in a minute. But the first of those 5 factors is going to be your grades and grade trends. So obviously you're applying to college, we're going to check those out. So when we look at a student's GPA, we consider, their grade trends as well. So we're seeing if grades are going up or down, staying the same throughout your 4 years of high school too. And kind of going into what circumstances may have led to that trend, including challenges throughout that pandemic. I know some of you guys had that during your middle school experience. Coming out of that, we want to see an upward grade trend. But the middle 50% of students who enrolled here at Gonzaga, they were between about an unweighted 3.56 to a 3.92 GPA coming in from our last class. This basically just means that 25% had GPAs below that 3.56, and 25% had GPAs above that 3.92 on that unweighted scale. So at Gonzaga, we use unweighted GPAs, and that's so that all students are on the same 4.0 scale across the board. But at the same time, we do look at curriculum separately and giving it considerable weight as well too. So all students kind of applying to Gonzaga University should have that standard college prep curriculum. It's going to be a little bit similar to your graduation requirements, but one big thing is make sure you're checking it against our requirements too. So by college prep, we mean students should have 4 years of English, 3 to 4 years of math, 3 years of a social science, your history courses, something like that, 2 to 3 years of the same language, and then also 3 to 4 years of science too. So we know that more challenging classes can make for students who are better prepared for college. So we can encourage you to take those classes that are going to challenge you out of what's available to you, and still allow for a good sense of balance in your life too without that as well. And then in addition to preparing students better for college, and therefore factoring that into the application and merit scholarship a student may receive, many times students can bring in credits if they meet certain test requirements requirements or the college classes. So seeing if they're taking ones that are equivalent to ones offered at Gonzaga, whether that's through Running Start, AP scores, as well. So we're going to add a link into the chat showing our AP, IB, Cambridge, and Running Start, as well as college and the high school policies and equivalencies, just so you guys have those in your back pocket as well. And then please note that if you have college credit from college courses that you took while in high school, or AP, IB, Cambridge tests that you took, you are still going to be considered as a first-year student with that credit, not a transfer student. So you may have enough credits to even come in with like a junior standing, which is absolutely fantastic, because if you're working so hard in those Running Start courses or an AP, IB, like we want to make sure we're rewarding you for those as well. But you are going to need to follow all the deadlines for first-year students. So just something to make note of. So December 1 for your admission, and you're also going to be eligible for first year scholarships for all 4 years, not the transfer one. So you kind of get like a good benefit, like the best of both worlds. Like you're applying as a first year student, but then you also have all the benefits of taking in some community college credits or Running Start, AP, all those advanced course credits out of that as well. Cool. And I love to talk about this, but if you are interested in majoring in nursing, one of our most popular programs at GU, that is our only direct entry program. So what that means is for students that are intending to apply to our nursing program, you need to list your interest in nursing on the application itself. So it'll ask you like intended academic major on the application. So just make sure nursing is going to be your #1 academic interest listed on that. So for nursing applicants, we have a fairly small program, and it's also like our most competitive major on campus. So the first thing we look for is definitely looking at 4 years of math and science in high school, making sure you're getting ready for like what does a nursing curriculum entail, and kind of showing that commitment to math and science in your high school curriculum. So we prefer stuff like biology, chemistry, and other life sciences lab courses, such as anatomy and physiology too, but other sciences are fine too, but definitely like looking more towards those life sciences so you can kind of get that experience before you get to the college curriculum level as well. It's also helpful to have some experience, if possible, shadowing or volunteering in health settings. We recognize that this isn't always possible depending on where you're located, depending on what opportunities are available in your area, but taking those opportunities when they are available, I think is such a great thing to have when you're applying to Gonzaga, especially for the nursing program. And students may only enter the nursing program as a first-year student. So definitely something, when I say direct entry, that's what I mean. It's a cohort model with students taking their classes and clinicals together throughout the years. So you kind of get a little close-knit community throughout that. But it is not possible to transfer into that program just because it's so concurrent with all of that as well. So something to make note of. Awesome. So one thing to note, so we are test optional, but with the exception of homeschooled students here at Gonzaga, Gonzaga is test optional for admissions for all majors, and that includes our nursing program. That includes like access to all of our scholarships and special programs such as the honors program. So in other words, students that apply without a test still have access to the exact same opportunities as students applying with test scores that have as well. And when a student applies without a test score, we will place a lot more emphasis on the evaluation of your grades, your curriculum, and your writing throughout the application. So it's not a matter of that we don't like give you the same like amount of opportunities. It's just a matter of we just place weight in other places on the application too. But if you do have a test score already and you're wondering whether or not to submit, here are like our mid 50% for test scores in our incoming class. So just a good baseline to kind of check out, do I want to submit my test score? Do I not want to submit? So for SATs, last year's incoming class was about a 1265 to a 1410 for the SAT, and then about a 28 to a 32 for the ACT. And definitely something I encourage you, like, please like discuss your specific situation with your admission counselor. Like if you have those questions, like we're always happy to help you. But in general, if you already have that strong curriculum, strong GPA, you would have to have a pretty high test score to be kind of at the top or over our mid 50% for us to say like, you should submit that test score because it would make a difference in your application. But I think sometimes for students, I think it can be a help. But sometimes if you already show us like that with your curriculum, your GPA, I think sometimes I'm like, I think you're okay without your test score, but definitely something reach out on an individual basis to your admission counselor because we're happy to help. And then other than that, like homeschooled students are going to have who have more than 30 semester or 45 quarter credits of transferable credit from a college or community college at the time of application. Do not need to submit a test score. But if you do have less college credit than that, like those 30 semester, 45 quarter credits, you do still need to submit a test score. And for all applicants on our Gonzaga questions page of the Common Application, you're going to be asked whether or not you want to have SAT or ACT tests count as a part of your application. So right off the bat, they'll ask you, do you want to apply with test scores or without test scores? So if you mark no, then we won't use your test score. So even if you sent it to us previously, we'll still disregard any test scores you sent over to us, and we'll just take what you want us to take throughout the application. But if you did mark yes, we will use your score, and we're going to keep contacting you to try and get whatever test score if we haven't received it already. And if it's missing from your application at the time that you apply, we'll keep on reaching out to you and making sure that we get that as a part of your application too, since you do want us to consider it. And then if you've taken the same test more than once, we're going to super score your scores, which is pretty awesome. So if you take the SAT once and you maybe did one a little bit better on the math and evidence-based writing or evidence-based stuff, and then the next one you do a little bit better on reading and writing, we can take those two scores and bring them together a little bit with that. So other things to touch on with that, and a couple other things, sorry about that. So please be in communication with your admission counselor. So if you change your mind on using your score or not using your score, and we haven't finished that evaluation process, then we can make that change for you. But just as an overall thing, we expect right around December 23rd is going to be the date where we're unable to change a student's test optional status. So just make sure you reach out to us before then. So plenty of time to kind of get those questions answered, but then also be ready to let us know if you decide to change your mind too.
Okay, awesome. So another part of our holistic review, we do consider your commitments to your outside school activities as well. And when I say outside school activities, I mean outside the classroom. So even if it's a school related activity, that's fine. But really anything you do outside the classroom. We are looking more for depth in an area than you doing everything offered under the sun. We are a very community-oriented place, and our students get very involved in campus and the community. So we seek students who enjoy being involved, starting new clubs, serving as leaders in some capacity, and engaging in their communities. And please note that working, volunteering, and family responsibilities are important to list as well, as they show responsibility, dependability, and engagement in your community and or in your family. We don't value one type of activity over another, such as sports over music or music over DECA. We're really just interested in all of the talents and passions and abilities that you bring to your college community. The Common App does require an essay, and there is a short answer question on our Gonzaga questions page that's specific to Gonzaga. And then there is another question that will appear if you mark yourself as a nursing major. Again, just a short answer question. And then finally, there is a section on the Common Application that allows you to address any hardships and issues that you've had as a result of COVID, natural disasters, and there's a section where you can address dips in your grades or other academic or personal challenges and recoveries. Those are both optional sections. If you feel like those are applicable to you, places you really want to provide more context to your application, those are fabulous places to provide that to us so we can see that in our review. We do encourage you to use this section if they apply to you, just because we really want to see what you have accomplished within the context of your high school experience. So your personal situation, the environment you were in, and your academic history, that is all very important to us, that we know that as well.
Awesome. And yeah, absolutely. So another great place for that is for the essay. The Common Application has, you can pick one from 7 different prompts. So lots to choose from. And even the last one is actually make up your own question, give your own prompt. So you really have limitless options to choose from. So we encourage you to pick the one that really, really speaks to you, is one that you can write about and write about well. So I also encourage you to make your topic narrow rather than broad. So just some good tips for this. So for example, if I'm writing about my passion for swimming, and that's kind of a little bit more broad, but if my topic's something what have I learned from taking swimming lessons for the past 10 years, or see like that's a narrow topic that I can cover in the space allowed. And it also lends to some self-reflection too. So being a little bit more specific what you're talking about too. But we want to see that you can write well, and we also want to learn more about you from an essay. So you're welcome to be like as creative as you want with this. So such as a student who wanted to be a journalist. So she wrote her essay basically interviewing herself 5 years into her career, or maybe like the budding poet who included, a poem that tied into her essay too. So trying to like, bring different things in, if maybe like that's more your pathways, being a little bit more creative, like showing your writing skills through that. So the best essays basically like let us experience what you have experienced in your life as we read them. So they show us your experience. They don't just tell it. So a good example of that is like telling for a student writing about a debate is, oh, I've been on the debate team for all of my high school years and I've won many tournaments. So it's an intense, sometimes scary activity, but I enjoy it. So like that's your telling us what you're doing. That's kind of like listing your accomplishments, which those accomplishments, they're great. We love to hear about them, but also like thinking about the showing. So thinking about being a little bit more adept with your writing. So a version of that could be something like, I scribbled furiously as my opponent finished her argument, making sure I could counter each and every point. Then as it was my turn to speak, I pushed my anxieties away and the usual rush of energy came over me. And I remembered I live for debate moments like this one. So kind of like taking that opportunity, same exact story, right? But taking that opportunity to show us a story about yourself and kind of develop those writing skills as well. So strong essays use vivid imagery and sometimes dialogue as well. So they reflect on what the experience really, really meant to them and tie at the end of the essay back to the beginning of their essay as well. So kind of having an intro, good conclusion, and kind of bringing them together so we get like a little bit of a full circle moment too. So referring again to something that opened the essay so that the reader knows it's coming back to a good conclusion. So strong essays are also well-proof for errors, proofread, proofread, proofread. And I'm sure this goes without saying to this group, but they use appropriate capitalization, punctuation, and grammar, even in those short answer sections. I can't tell you the number of times that we've seen a little mini I instead of a capitalized I, or parents' names that are all in lowercase. So while we're not going to like take an application and throw students' application away, it doesn't leave the impression that I know all of you really, really want to leave on an application. So thinking about overall professionalism on the application is super, super important, especially for writing.
Absolutely. And again, we are a community that really cares about one another. And the final piece that we look at is your character, which is going to be reviewed through a letter of recommendation from an academic subject teacher. So that should be someone who has had you in class, not just a coach, and really someone that's had you in class in an academic subject. So not an elective, things like English, history, science, world language, religion, if you go to a religious school, things like that. And then we will also look at the secondary school report that will be filled out by your high school counselor or your school office. A letter from your high school counselor is not required, though if your counselor does send one, we do absolutely add it to your file as well. And the final option is to do an interview with a counselor. As you can see, we do highly recommend these interviews for students at or below an unweighted 3.2 GPA, or anyone who feels that a talk with an admission counselor may help explain their academic history or personal needs better. We are also happy to meet with students no matter what their GPA and academics show, as the more we know about you, the better we can connect you to special opportunities at Gonzaga, such as the separate application scholarships that you may be a good fit for, things like that. We offer interviews via phone, video chat, and in person if you're able to visit. Some of us even offer these interviews in your areas when we are traveling there. We typically send out emails about those. And you can sign up for them on our virtual Gonzaga or our Visit Gonzaga pages that Carrie will put links to in the chat. And you're also welcome to contact the admission counselor for your region to learn more and answer your questions. Carrie will add the Find Your Counselor webpage to the chat. And if you do interview with us, we'll cover your questions, individualized information on majors of interest, as well as scholarships and financial aid. So they really are useful for everyone. But again, we do really recommend those for students at or below that unweighted 3.2 GPA. I'm skipped ahead a little bit here. So speaking of scholarships and financial aid, we did host a webinar on October 10th that covers scholarships and financial aid. We hope that you were able to attend that. If you were not able to, the recording is available on our website. Carrie's going to put the link in the chat. I'm asking Carrie to send in like 5 different links, but I know that she's ready. But if you want it off the top of your head, it's gonzaga.edu/admission webinars. We will also be hosting a webinar on November 29th, which will talk about the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, in depth. And you can sign up for that on the same webpage where you're going to find the recording from our last webinar. So the FAFSA, if you didn't know, is getting a whole overhaul this fall. So it's going to be kind of a new process or a new form this year. So we really hope that you all can join us for that webinar on November 29th. We're really going to go in depth on the FAFSA and hopefully provide some very useful guidance for you. So now getting into the Washington student-specific information. So again, if you are not from Washington and you found your way onto this webinar, the next few slides are not going to be applicable to you. We have the first program I want to talk about is a new program called Unity Scholars. So this is new this fall, and we will enroll our first class in the fall of 2024, so next fall. Unity Scholars is Gonzaga's Leadership, Equity, Access, and Diversity program. Unity Scholars is only available to Washington students, and if you are selected, it covers tuition, fees, housing, and meal plan for all 4 years at Gonzaga. Students do need to apply to the Unity Scholars program in addition to applying to Gonzaga via the Common Application. To be eligible for Unity Scholars, you must be a Washington resident, and this is available to undocumented students living in Washington as well. You must apply for admission to Gonzaga as a first-year applicant by December 1st of 2023, and you must meet Gonzaga's admission requirements. In addition, students must submit a FAFSA or a WASFA. WASFA is just the Washington State equivalent of the FAFSA, and you must have demonstrated financial need. We are looking for students who have demonstrated resilience in the face of barriers or obstacles to pursuing an education, students who have had a genuine commitment to or a demonstrated record of pursuing or of social justice activism. Students should also have a demonstrated involvement in cultural awareness groups, clubs, or activities, and have engaged in leadership within their school, community, and or within their families. The Unity Scholars application is due by January 1st of 2024. So 2 dates for you to remember. You need to apply to Gonzaga as a first-year student by December 1st via your Common App, and then you need to apply to the Unity Scholars program specifically by January 1st of 2024. Finalists will be selected in late January, and those finalists will participate in a virtual interview with a Gonzaga representative in early February or late January, not entirely sure yet. And then the Unity Scholar recipients will be notified by March 1st. So again, this will cover tuition, fees, housing, meal plans, all 4 years at Gonzaga if you are selected for this program. Again, it is only available to our Washington students. So definitely something that we are very excited about as well. And we have another Washington specific program that Becky Doyle is going to talk about.
Yes, another amazing aid program available for Washington State students, and that is the Gonzaga Access Pledge. So this is Gonzaga's full tuition commitment to basically bridge the gap for college funding. The Gonzaga Access Pledge provides grant and scholarship aid to cover the cost of tuition for all 4 years at Gonzaga for first-year students throughout Washington who qualify for the federal Pell Grant. So if you don't know what the federal Pell Grant, it's a financial aid program that's awarded to students who show exceptional financial need. So in order to be eligible for that Gonzaga Access Pledge, students need to be a Washington State resident. They need to be admitted to Gonzaga as a first-year student. And then also they need to submit a FAFSA or WASFA if you're from Washington State, that other alternative, and then be eligible for the federal Pell Grant. So if you're someone that qualifies for all of those, just something to consider. And then also undocumented students who are eligible for the Gonzaga Access Pledge will need to submit the WASFA form. So not the FAFSA, but the WASFA. And then students who receive the Gonzaga Access Pledge, they're going to be notified once they receive their financial aid package in the mail.
Perfect. Yeah. So I think 2 things, sometimes this is a little confusing to people, but hopefully this can put it into perspective. Gonzaga Access Pledge, the only thing that you need to do is file a FAFSA or a WASFA, and you will automatically be told if you qualify for the Gonzaga Access Pledge and your tuition is automatically covered, whereas Unity Scholars is going to require you to do that additional work and actually apply to the program. It's not an automatic enrollment. So hopefully that is clearer. But I hope that this information has kind of helped clarify our application process, as well as giving you a sense of the aid programs available specifically to our Washington students. I am going to stop sharing my screen for a few moments just to see if Carrie has any questions that haven't been answered in Q&A yet, or anything that she'd like us to answer out loud, if she's not bombarded by other questions right now.
Absolutely. No, this is great. Yes, we've had some great questions coming in through the Q&A, and I do have some I would love for you to address out loud. So we have a student saying that they're taking the SAT in December, but how would they submit it after applying to Gonzaga? And I think this is going to be relevant for a lot of people, so I want you to talk about it, please.
Absolutely. That's a very, very common experience. So that's completely fine. You can take the December test dates. You will need to submit your application by December 1st. So you will not have your scores by the time you submit your application. So you can go one of two ways. What most students do is that when they fill out that Gonzaga questions page on the Common App, they say, yes, I do want my test scores considered. And then you just send those to us as soon as you have them. If you get your test scores back and you don't like them and you don't want them considered, please reach out to us really before the holidays. So our office will be closed the week of Christmas. So it's probably going to be the 23rd of December. Just reach out to us before that point and say, never mind, I actually do not want my test scores considered. That is totally fine. You could go the other way and say, no, I don't want them considered on your application. And then if you like them, you can say, actually, I do want them. But again, either of those things, your decision will be locked in after December 23rd. So most students, what I recommend is just saying that, yes, you want your test scores considered. And then if you don't like them, reaching out to us and we can change it for you that way.
Excellent. There's kind of one that just came in along with it, which is, when is it recommended to send those SATs and ACT scores? I feel like you kind of answered that with, you want to be able to send them in before we make decisions in February. So anytime between then and February, sending those in. But that December test, both SAT and ACT, I would say would be good ones to sign up for if you haven't already and you plan to use test scores or would like to have that possibility.
For sure.
And so our next question is that we have a student who's thinking about writing their essay about a book that she's read, or he's read maybe, that they read when they were younger, and how I learned a huge lesson from it and how I applied that lesson to my life. Would that be a good topic to write about, or do I need to write about something personal?
Great question. I mean, there's no real like specific thing you need to write about. I think that, if you feel like you can write about that book and really go in depth with it and really show us both like your writing style and also really what you took from that book, really showing growth, I think that that's great. It doesn't have to be, some personal experience. One of my favorite essays I've ever read was a student who loves apples, and she actually had an Instagram dedicated to rating every single apple that she ever ate. And she wrote her whole essay about apples and how much she loves apples and all these things. So it definitely doesn't have to be some massive personal experience, but we do really want to see that you can go in depth and really show both good writing and also showing kind of a little bit of your heart behind it, if that makes sense. But Becky, Carrie, anything you want to add?
I honestly love it when a student, I think what you put in the chat about, your favorite book when you were a kid, and you mentioned a little bit how, how it affected my life. I think you could perfectly tie that into talking about not just the book, but how has this impacted my life, and kind of showing your writing skills, which is great. And then also showing a little piece of you, like Becky was mentioning, with your heart, truly, because I think that makes an essay something that's interesting to read and something that really, really tells me a lot about you as well.
Yeah, that's what I read when I read that question too. I thought, well, that is personal. It's personal to you, and it's you letting us get to know you a little bit through a book that you read that had an impact on your life. So I agree with all of you. All right, our next question is, if one does not qualify for financial aid, are there any merit programs to consider?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking that question. Yeah, so our merit scholarships are a very big chunk. It's a good range. So the merit scholarships range from $14,000 to $25,000 per year, and they are guaranteed for 4 years as long as you stay in good standing at the university. All you have to do to be eligible for those is just submit your common application. That's it. I will say that as a private institution, I really encourage all of my students to file a FAFSA or a WASFA because, like I said, we're a private institution. So we really have our own money that we can award to students. We have a program called Gonzaga Grant that is awarded to students who file a FAFSA or a WASFA, and it is guaranteed for 4 years. And we have a lot of students who think that they don't qualify for any financial aid because, yeah, maybe they don't qualify for aid from, the state or the federal government. But we still, we get your FAFSA and see whatever the number is that the government says, we think you should be able to pay this. Well, we can say, well, we're still going to give them an extra $3,000 per year or something like that. So there's just other grants and there are other scholarships that you will not even be eligible for if you don't submit a FAFSA. And so I really encourage everyone to, I would hate for you to leave any free money on the table. I had a student last year that missed out on a scholarship that was also guaranteed for 4 years simply because her family did not submit a FAFSA. And so we want to give you as much aid as we possibly can. So if you don't qualify and you do just get a merit scholarship, that range is 14 to 25,000. But I will say that I would really encourage everyone to spend the 30 minutes it should take you to fill out a FAFSA, just because you could end up getting other aid as well.
Excellent, thank you. So now we have a question about someone who says, if we applied for early action, got the application in by November 1st, when should we hear, February or earlier? So maybe we can do some clarification on our deadlines, please.
For sure. Yeah, I know it's super confusing. Every school is different. There's like a million different deadlines. We do not have early action. So I know today was a big early action deadline. I know a lot of you are probably feeling like zombies right now, trying to get all your applications in by midnight. But today is not our deadline. December 1st is our main regular decision deadline. We do have one late deadline, February 1st. We really have that deadline to say, maybe if you don't get into your one early decision school or something happened and you decided that you really want to go somewhere else, we really encourage everyone to apply by that December 1st deadline. Depending on the year and, the space that we have in our class. And as we're making decisions, we will, see if a student applied by that December 1st deadline. So really consider that our only deadline until something drastic happens. But yeah, we do not have early action. We will send out all of our decisions in mid-February. So even if you applied by today, or if you apply on December 1st, you will all find out on the same day in usually mid-February, March 1st at the latest.
Thank you. Our next question is, what are some verified common scholarship websites that we can apply to? So any of us can type some things into the chat. I'll try to get some in there as well. But if either of you want to address that out loud, that'd be great too.
Yeah, great question. So we do have our scholarship search database on our website. So that's a great one to look at. All the scholarships in there have been verified by our financial aid office, so you know that they are legitimate scholarships. Independent Colleges of Washington is a really good one to look at, specifically if you're looking at other independent colleges in Washington, so other private schools, places like Whitworth, PLU, UPS, SPU, Seattle U, places like that. If you're looking at a lot of independent colleges in Washington, they have some great scholarships. I know the Maxwell Foundation as well has some scholarships available for Washington students. Those are the three that are coming to the top of my mind. I can put those in the chat as well.
Great. I just put the outside scholarship database into the chat along with our main scholarship page. And then thanks for posting those other ones on Maxwell Foundation and those others in there too. And thanks, Becky, for getting the outside scholarship database in there as well. I'm going to move. I do have a few other questions that were submitted earlier. Let's talk a little bit more generally. What's the support? Is the support primarily academic, or is it also about acclimating to dorm life, etc.?
All of the above. So we are a Jesuit school. So one of our sayings that you'll hear frequently is cura personalis, which is Latin for care for the whole person. So a really big thing to the Jesuits is caring for the whole person, mind, body, spirit. And so we really try to have that be kind of at the forefront of all of the support that we give our students. So academic wise, of course, we have lots of support. You have an academic advisor that you're required to meet with once per semester at least. We have our Center for Student Academic Success. They are like kind of the big umbrella. And then under their office, we have our disability access office. If any student has a learning difference, needs accommodations, they can help with that. And then kind of the other arm of that office is academic advising and assistance. So specifically helping our undeclared students, but helping you figure out any classes you need to take, things like that. So they're a good help in addition to your academic advisor. But then also lots of support for like student life and just acclimating to college. So we have our orientation sessions in July every year. So we have students come out to campus if you're able for about 2 days and go through just getting acclimated to campus, getting to meet some other students here that were hired as orientation leaders. They'll walk you through like how to register for classes, which you'll do for second semester, teach you about some fun traditions and things like that. And then our Residence Hall Association, they do a lot of programming within our Residence Hall, specifically for our first year students to help you with that transition to college. So one of the things that is very popular is called Freshman Games. So we are really big on intramurals here at Gonzaga. I think we're in the top 10 in the nation for participation in intramurals. And so every fall we do what we call freshman games, which is where the RAs will make teams based on their halls. And then it's like Olympic style. And so you play a bunch of different intramurals together. So that's one way to get to know people. And then they'll do like block parties and things like that. Some RAs do sessions on like how to zag and like teach you about something different every time. We also have our Center for Cura Personalis. So again, Cura Personalis, like I said, care for the whole person. They really work with students on mental health needs that maybe aren't at a clinical level yet, but if a student's experiencing, say, like homesickness, having roommate disputes, helping students have healthy relationships, things like that. So they meet with students very, very frequently. And then we do have our health and counseling office as well, and they work with students on a more clinical level. So of course, like if you get sick when you're at Gonzaga, they can help you out. And then we do have licensed clinical mental health counselors that are there as well. Did I miss anything back here, Carrie?
That was a great rundown.
Perfect.
I'm going to switch us back to the application here, and from one of our attendees. For the first supplemental question, could I write about a racist incident that happened with a teacher that occurred during my junior year and articulate how it affected me and other students and how I used my voice to make change? Would that be a good essay topic for this prompt?
First of all, I'm very sorry that you had that experience, first and foremost. Second of all, absolutely. We never want students to feel like you have to write about something that may be traumatic for you. It might be something that you don't want to write about. Please don't ever feel like you have to, but that absolutely is something that you are welcome to write about. And again, I'm just very sorry that that happened to you, but yeah, absolutely. If you're comfortable and wanting to write about that, that is a great place to share that.
Thank you. All right, got some more that came in. Well, would you please talk a little bit about the GEL program in the spring? Becky, okay, you're both Becky's, but Becky Stockton is our queen of GEL, so you can start us off.
the gel coordinator. So gel is my pride and joy. So I love to talk about gel. So gel is Gonzaga Experience Live. So it's over a 30-year tradition at Gonzaga. At this point, it is one of my favorite traditions at Gonzaga. So this year it is on, or I guess 2024, I believe it's Saturday, April 13th. Let me see if I have that correct. Saturday, April 13th. And so it's the only visit we have that's only for admitted students. So we have a very, very robust visit program. We have preview days that are like really in-depth visits. But gel is the only thing that's only for our admitted students. It's also the longest and most in-depth visit program that we offer. So it's a 12-hour event that Saturday. So it starts at 9 a.m. and it goes till 9 p.m. In the morning, it's really like free for all, whatever you want to do. We have campus tours going. It's really the only time you can see multiple residence halls as well. So we'll have residence hall tours going as well. Pretty much all of our student support offices will be open. So you can go and chat with them, talk about what services they offer, things like that. We have an academic fair with all of our departments there and their professors talking to you about different classes and things like that. We have, what else do we have going on? We have a resource fair going on at the same time as everything else. So really, there's just like a million things happening. You kind of choose what you want to do in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we split the parents and families and the students. So the students will go to an opening ceremony in McCarthy Athletic Center, and like the cheerleaders are there and the band's there. We'll teach you some like Gonzaga cheers. You'll hear from a student speaker, faculty speaker, and then you get put in small groups, which are led by our student ambassadors. They will take you to a sample class. So you kind of get to decide like your top 3, or maybe it's top 2, what kind of class you would like to take. And then you actually get to go to a sample class that is taught by our professors. And then after that, you go to an academic info session. So that is usually by school. So like the School of Business, School of Engineering, things like that. So a little bit higher level, more information about that. And then you will get to go to dinner at the COG, which is our dining hall. And you actually get another our ambassadors are kind of your hosts, but you get a gel host, which are other students that are not ambassadors. They just decided to sign up for gel and they want to participate. And so those are current freshmen and sophomores. So you'll get put in like a very small group with them. There's usually like 3 or 4 of you, and you go to dinner with them. And then in the evening, we have like student life activities happening. So we have what we call Fun Fest in the ballroom. There's like casino games and like life-size Jenga and like so much pizza and like a dance floor and stuff like that. We call S'mores by the Shore. That's a really big tradition at Gonzaga. Lake Arthur, which is like right there behind me. Right by our business school, we put like fire pits out there and roast s'mores. Gonzaga Outdoors leads that. Our Big Bang Theory, our a cappella group, they do a concert. So again, you kind of get to choose what you want to do. And then during the afternoon for the parents and families, you get to go to a session where our president will be there and multiple like very high level like VPs of like student affairs and student health and well-being, campus security, things like that. And then you get to go to a like happy hour type situation with our faculty. And there's lots of wine and cheese and great lemonade. The berry lemonade at Gonzaga is some of my favorite. So that's really what the parents and families do while the students are doing everything else. So yeah, it's a very in-depth visit. Registration for gel will open on March 1st of 2024. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. We'll send lots of emails. Big thing to know is that gel does have a capacity limit. It's not small by any means. It's not going to fill up in a day or anything like that. But we do close registration when we reach capacity or like the Monday before gel. So just for you to have that in the back of your mind. That was probably more information than that person wanted, but there you go.
That was an awesome description. Okay, let's take it back to financial aid. Can the financial aid package be revisited with a financial aid counselor? Maybe let's talk about what do we do in terms of appeals, please?
Yeah, great question. So when you get your financial aid package, you are absolutely more than welcome to meet with our financial aid counselors. They are incredible. We work very closely with them. We trust them very, very much. They're very good at what they do. They do Zoom meetings, they do in-person meetings. So you're more than welcome to do that and really just go through the package with them. If you feel like there's something, like maybe it's not really where you wanted it to be, the only appeals that we do are special conditions appeals. So there's actually like a list of situations, and you have to be like meeting one of those for there to actually be an appeal. There are no appeals for merit scholarships unless we don't have your most recent transcript with your first semester of senior year grades on it. So I know this is a question we get super, super frequently, is if there's a way to increase the merit scholarships. We try to be as objective as possible when we review these applications, and we do really have like a rubric that we go through with all of the applications, and we do take grades into consideration through first semester of senior year. But once we have those updated grades, in fairness to everyone, we cannot change your merit scholarship above what the student earned. So if you were to do an appeal, you would, one, have to meet one of the special conditions to be able to do that appeal. And two, the appeal would be to any need-based aid. It would not be to your merit scholarship. So hopefully that answered the question.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was very helpful. So this one's for Becky Doyle, because she's our ZME gal. So I was sent a message from Gonzaga that told me to download an app called ZME. Is this required or important in the decision-making process? And then maybe, Becky, if you could just go into a little bit more about what ZME is.
Yes, absolutely. So it is definitely not a requirement to join ZME, okay? But I'm the person that helps with ZME in our office, and I'll have to say, like, it's a great time. So we'll kind of talk about like what ZME is. So if for those of you who don't know, ZME is basically like a college messaging platform where you can join different communities based on like universities you're either admitted to, applied to, or that you're just interested in. So you can join multiple different university communities. So Gonzaga, we have our own community. And on our community, basically, it's just like a good way to ask any questions in kind of like a nicer format that's just like asking a quick question to a GU student or a GU counselor, which will be like me popping into the chat. And then once like students start getting like admitted, and it kind of helps build a community where you're able to like talk about like finding a roommate, talking about like, how do you think like I'm going to gel this week? Are you going to gel? And kind of starting like those conversations so you can like start building a community before you start attending Gonzaga. So it's a really fun place to be, and a great way to meet people prior to like coming to Gonzaga, prior to choosing Gonzaga. And it's something where you can just get to chat with like me, current students, and then other prospective students. So it's a really great time, not a requirement, but something that I highly recommend. And we're starting to do live events. There's going to be one later this fall, either in late November, early December. So be on the lookout for that, and just fun events for you to like kind of get to know what Gonzaga is about, and then also get to know other students too.
We also had a good amount of students meet roommates on ZME. So especially as we get into the spring, I would even recommend that for other schools as well. If they offer that, it can be a really good way to meet people, maybe find a roommate. Carrie, are there any other questions?
We do have just a couple. I know we're getting close to time here. For twins, can you address for twins what we do that's different financially, please?
Good question.
Both here.
Yeah. So the merit scholarship will be exactly the same. The range is the same for both students. So they both have the opportunity to get up to $25,000 per year in merit scholarship, guaranteed for 4 years. As far as the financial aid packages, terms of like need-based aid, this is where it's getting a little, we're going to have to see what happens with the FAFSA this year, because one of the things that the FAFSA did take into consideration in the past was how many students were in college at the same time. So, you know, the idea being that like if you had multiple students in college at the same time, that your estimated family contribution would be lower than if you only had one student in college at the same time. they are, to my understanding, not going to be reviewing that anymore, which is going to be a pain point for a lot of people. So I would definitely encourage reaching out to the financial aid office. I know we've had conversations about that may fall under the special conditions appeal later in the spring. So when you get that financial aid package, it may be something that you could go to the financial aid office and say there's going to be 2 kids in college at the same time, and that would adjust your aid package. We do also have a sibling discount. I believe, is it 10% off, Carrie? Perfect. 10% off one student. And that would be for twins. If you're here the same all 4 years, that would apply to all 4 years. So did I miss anything, Carrie?
I was just saying, we've had some who have split 5% and 5%. For twins. Let's see. How about if we finish up with a question about College Bound and how College Bound works with our financial aid. I'm combining a couple of different questions that you all had out there.
Yeah. Carrie, you probably know the most about this. So maybe I'll just let you take it because I feel like I've heard you answer this before and it's a good answer.
Sure. So with College Bound, we do take College Bound. It's the same amount of money as you would be using at a 4-year school. So it's set at the highest tuition of the highest 4-year school tuition. And we'd use that same amount in your tuition package here to cover. And then depending if you're eligible for our Gonzaga Access Pledge, then we would cover that total up to tuition. If you're not, we're still going to look at financial need and see if there's other Gonzaga grant you'd be eligible for. You'd still be eligible for that merit scholarship that Becky was talking about. So it would be more of stacking. We'd use that College Bound money to help stack, and we would stack scholarships and grants up to wherever you are eligible for, which could be up to the total cost of tuition if you are eligible for a federal Pell Grant or filling out the WASFA and eligible for a similar level of income. So it can be but it's part of stacking.
Yeah, and just to clarify, that's at the highest cost of tuition for the in-state colleges. So I believe that is UW currently, if that helps anyone get a sense of that. But so it would be the same amount were you to go to UW basically, but always stacking. And again, I'll just plug Unity Scholars. I know it's a new program, so it's not top of people's minds, but it's a really incredible program. We're going to enroll about 20 to 25 students from all of Washington. And again, everything's covered. So I would definitely encourage y'all to look at that and to apply to that, because it's an incredible opportunity if you're able to do that. And it shouldn't be too much extra work. So cool. Alrighty, well, I'm going to share my screen again just really quickly, just to show you one last slide here. Oh, if I can. Where did my mouse go? There it is. So it's really been a pleasure being with you all this evening, and we appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We do have a number of in-person and virtual information sessions, interviews, student panels, and daily campus visits. We'd love for you to join us for any of those. So you can sign up to join us on either our Visit Gonzaga page or our virtual Gonzaga page. And we wish you the very best in your college process, and we hope that you'll let us know when we can help. And thank you so much for attending and for your interest in being a ZAG, and I hope that you all have a great night, and thanks so much for joining.